I'm Chris's assistant.
That's all you can do, right? Is the best you can do.
That's right. Holy crap, it's so much better. Let me think about that one
Okay.
a little bit more. That's
Okay.
a good question. It's not about the destination.
Yeah.
It's about who you're with and the
whole
experience. I'm going to tell Chris
I'll
right
go.
now. Yeah. But if I had to go back and choose, it would be all for the money at that point. Yeah, totally different.
Oh, hey there, Bryan.
How are we
So
doing?
what does a president of a bike company do?
I'm Chris's assistant in a lot of ways. No, I mean, yeah, that's a great question. So I kind of look at it like Chris is still the vision behind the product, right? Like he oversees the engineering, the R&D. He's over with in our Asian facility, making sure, and that's all QC. So like everything that has to do with like the bike creation is generally still Chris and his team. And then kind of once it's ready for market, actually right about, I don't know, now, the time we're sitting down, is kind of where it starts to blur away from his world and into my world, right? And so what I'm in charge of is the sales, the customer service, the after-sales support, the logistics. And so what we do is we now sell the bike. We take care of the bike. We make sure the customer is taken care of. So Chris ideates it, whatever that fancy word is, and then once it's ready, basically it's kind of over to the teams that I help oversee, and we help to run those things forward to market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Maybe that was a half-assed explanation, but that was the best I can do.
Well, that's all you can do, right? Is the best you can do.
That's right.
Speaking of the best you can do, I have heard mentioned several times that there is a board that is posted up here around the office. Now, most places have boards that say days since a safety incident. It seems that Pivot has a board that says days since Bryan has broken his bike or a bike part.
Yeah, we have that.
And
the purchasing team thought that it would be funny. And
I mean, it is pretty funny, to be fair.
it is pretty funny, and they love watching me walk over, and they don't know. And I'm kind of bummed because they never update it, so I have to go over and update it, and like they never know if I'm gonna like put it back to zero or if I'm gonna go and like add a day. I told them they needed to give me some credit, and so I think we're up to 7 days without incident. Right?
See, I just heard that there was half a day.
There was a half a day. I did a morning ride. Yeah, this is last week. I did a morning. I flat it the night before. I did a morning ride, but I planned on riding that afternoon, and I did not want to jinx myself. So yeah, so I only did a 0.5 day.
To be fair, I guess, and give you a little bit of credit, how many miles would you say you put in a year?
Last
days a week do you
year,
ride?
so I ride 6 days a week. I do 2-a-days. I wouldn't say every day. So maybe 1 or 2 of those days I do 2-a-days where I commute in on South Mountain and home on South Mountain. So I think I did 4,400 miles, somewhere in that range last year. And you remember this. I actually could not ride in January or February due to a shoulder surgery. I still did ride. Don't tell my surgeon. I just rode with one hand for a while. But I did. My miles were considerably lower the first quarter of last year. So, yeah.
So not forgiving terrain to be...
Well, it's South Mountain.
It's probably great for testing.
It's great for destructive testing in my case. Yeah. No, it's great. So yeah, South Mountain, there isn't an easy trail there. And so a lot of those miles come on some of the trails you guys got to test this week, which are, we were prepping a bike of mine for, I had sold it to a friend and we were touching it up, getting it ready. And Chris came in, he's like, what did you do? And I'm like, that bike only has 700 miles. And he looked at me, he goes, those are 700 Bryan Mason miles. So
Yeah. It's probably a couple thousand under most people.
it might be. They're more South Mountain miles, I guess, and moderately problematic for me too. So
I've followed you a couple times before.
we were going fast.
I won't do it again.
Yeah, well, come on. Yeah, that's okay. I invite you anytime to come out and follow along.
It was a blast. I can't wait for our next ride and some more gelato together.
Yes.
What would you say are some of the bigger struggles or frustrations, maybe as a president of a bike company or just as a general bike industry veteran that you have right now?
Wow. veteran's a word, you know.
I mean, you've been in the business for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. I've been here 10 years and a few jobs before that. You know, I think that the first thing is I've got friends that don't really, you know, they think I work at a bike shop, which is totally fine. And I mean, I value every bike shop that's out there and the work that they do. But like they're like, you have the best job. You get to talk about bikes all day, and they are right. I have the best job. But it's still a job, right? It's still work. And there's that like showing up. And so we have the everyday headaches of, you know, production issues, of production delays, of vendor delays. And so there's always an obstacle. And I love that I have a team of valuable, awesome people that can help, you know, to solve those. But there's a new headache every day. And so that's certainly part of it. And I think that people have this maybe assumption that like, the bike industry, you know, and bike companies like want prices to go up. And I will tell you, we do not want prices to go up at all. You know, like this pandemic period has been, we had massive supply problems for a few years where we couldn't get enough product. And then there was oversupply in the market. And now we have all of these tariffs and other complications. And so, you know, we're just trying to run the most successful business possible that also gives the best product possible. And, you know, we see comments of like, you know, these bikes are so expensive. And it's like, it's literally like nicer than the bike our teams ride in a lot of cases. Like, and so I think that there's this like, I don't know, maybe misunderstanding of we don't want prices to go up. But we also need to make sure that we can run a successful business that allows us to innovate and make awesome product. And I think the whole bike industry is kind of in that, where we're trying to innovate and do the best and make the coolest, most cutting edge bikes, but there's a cost associated with that. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that was a bad answer.
No, I think that's a fine answer. I mean, keeping in line with that a bit, there's been a lot of discounted bikes from brands out there. I mean, do you want to take a guess, or maybe you know, or I mean, what are your thoughts on like, you know, some brands maybe over leveraging and getting greedy, so to speak, and over ordering, trying to control the market, and then things turn and now they're sitting on stuff, or I don't know. I mean,
it's a complicated supply chain. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, we've played some different supply chain management games here as a company that you know, that were developed by MIT and some other you know, other places, and we've looked at some of those. And the cycle, you know, the feedback cycle is so long. You know, from the time we order products, sometimes by the time, you know, it takes a year and a half to potentially, at the fastest, to get a product to market. Right, and like ready for prime time and ordering it, and then we're going to have to order that with supply chain and lead times and shipping and transit and delays 8-9 months before it ever makes it to market. So there's oversupply, but everyone had to make a bet maybe a year and a half, a year before they knew what the market was going to be. And so their crystal ball is just murky. And all of ours have been murky. And every one of us is like, oh yeah, this is the year that everything's going to return to normal. And in some ways, you know, every year there are some new normals. But it's, so I don't know if it's necessarily getting greedy, but you know, it's hard. We don't have a perfect level of information as an industry, right? Like, I don't see everyone's inventory. They don't see all of my inventory. I don't see all of SRAM or Shimano's inventory, and all of us are doing the best we can to, you know, with imperfect information and a very slow feedback cycle. So sometimes I don't know whether a product's successful until 6, 8, 9 months after it's launched.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So if you're looking at, let's just say we can wipe the COVID years off the timeline here, and you just go from, I don't know, was it 2017, 18 to 2026?
Yeah.
Where would you say the bike industry has trended from pre-COVID, you know, to today?
Well, it depends. The industry as a whole, I think, is up. I mean, we had some incredible growth in those years, those 2020 years. And I think that if you kind of blended those out and averaged them, you'd probably see a pretty consistent growth. Where the growth has happened is different, right? I mean, you're seeing e-bikes right now continue to grow, where you're seeing analog bikes continue to slow a little bit. And maybe it's on the extremes of travel. the analog bike's still king, a downhill bike's still a downhill bike, cross country bike's still a cross country bike, but the lines start to get blurred in the middle there.
Yeah.
And so I think the industry as a whole is continued. Like if we kind of were able to smooth that curve, I think that we're up from where we were in 2018, 19. But I think that the categories have changed. I mean, you're talking, seems like not that long ago that like the king was like a 160, 150 bike, and it was an analog bike. And today, I'm not sure what it'll be, but it's probably got a drive unit in it on a global level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Do you think that the evolution, I mean, you guys are working on the brand new XC bike, and, it seems like a lot of brands are coming out with, new short travel cross country bikes. Downhill bikes seem to be making, resurgence.
They're strong.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But do you think that maybe the refreshing of models, so to speak, in that 140 to 160 range might slow as brands focus energy on the extremes of travel or e-bikes?
I think it could. In some ways, I think that's a mistake, right? I mean, like, so we're going to take a category that's slowing as an industry and be like, hey, we're not going to put any resources in there. Well, that's like, that's naturally going to slow that even further.
Sure.
So I think that it's possible, and I think that it depends on the brand and their ethos. I think that there are brands that will just, you're right, like they're just going to put their money and their resources into maybe those extremes or maybe those e-bikes, and they're going to try to chase that category. And then I think there's other manufacturers that are just, every few years they're on a cycle, and they want to do, then they know that there can be improvements. And it is on a analog bike, I think that we've reached like this crazy level of refinement where the bikes are like, it used to be like you came out with a new bike and it was like, holy crap, it's so much better. And we've reached this level where it is better, but it is so much more refined.
Yeah.
Where the e-bikes are still seeming to jump
Bigger
by
leaps.
huge leaps. But this is kind of the golden age, man. I mean, think about what you can do on a 130, 150 millimeter travel bike. I mean, you can ride that down stuff that you could, when I started riding 20 plus years ago, you needed a 180 millimeter travel bike to get down. And now you can do it on a cross country light duty trail bike. So that's pretty incredible.
It is pretty insane. Absolutely. Yeah. And it is very cool, the capabilities of what bikes can do nowadays. So, of all the places that you have been, places you've ridden, work trips you've gone on, what stands out to you as a memorable experience?
Wow. There are so many. I've been super fortunate to be able to travel, and it's funny because for me it's partially like where I'm at, and partially the bike I'm riding, and partially who I'm with.
Yeah.
And so like obviously we rode together in Finale in March, and I love Finale. It's an incredible place, but like also hanging out with a ton of Americans who, were kind of experiencing Finale for the first time and staying in like a 700-year-old villa. That was a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah.
I just got back from Australia, and we were riding the new LT. And so it was pretty early. That was kind of the earliest we've ever had a bike outside of Pivot, kind of out in the wild. And that ride, the trails were good. They were good, but they weren't incredible. But the company, everyone was just so pumped on the bike. They're like, we finished the ride, and it was like, everyone was like, that was the best ride I've ever been on. It kind of had nothing to do with the trail. It was just a combination of being good trails, good people. So Australia, we were outside of Sea Otter, Australia, and there was and it was just a blast. So I don't know if I could pick like any singular space, because some of my work, even riding, we go to Germany all the time. We have an office in Stuttgart, and some of my most memorable rides are in the worst conditions there, where we are just freezing. The fog is freezing your skin quite literally as it's hitting you, because it's 0 degrees. And so 0 degrees Celsius. So that fog is liquid until it hits you, and then it freezes. And some of those rides are just such a blast. So I don't know. I get asked often, like, what's your favorite riding destination? And for me, it's not about the destination. It's about who you're with and the experience. The kind of the whole package.
If you could go anywhere to ride that you've not yet been, where would you pick?
Wow. I want to do the Dolomites. I've never
Okay.
done. Yeah, I mean, like I've done all over Europe, but that one is one that just keeps escaping me. Like so that one would be high on my list probably.
That place is spiritual, I would say.
Yeah, and I haven't had. So that's
pretty
one of the
amazing.
few places I haven't had the chance to go do.
I think Pivot should have a media camp there.
I'm going to tell Chris
I'll
right
go.
now. Yeah. So that's on the list. I continue to, every time I see photos from there or people go there, it's just like almost a spiritual transcendent experience. So
It is amazing.
That's
It's an
on my
amazing
list.
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jamaica's on my list.
okay. I've done a lot of Caribbean riding. It's just so hot.
Is it?
You know, I've done the Dominican Republic and like
Yeah.
I'm used to the heat. Hello, we're in Phoenix. But that humidity, you know, it can be, you find an e-bike ride if you're going to Jamaica. Yeah.
I remember, Brendog did a video, like he went to Jamaica and did a trip there, and man, just the vibes and the trails, the dirt and the jungle, like it seemed pretty sweet.
That'd be
I was
pretty
like,
cool.
That would be rad.
Sounds like we need to do a media camp in Jamaica.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
I've never been to Spain. I've been to a lot of European countries
Spain's
to ride,
awesome.
but Spain is on my list for sure.
You should. And yeah, there's
As is Portugal. Those are the two that I'm not.
Portugal's also great. Amazing riding. And like it's so you're going to be pumped on both of those. We have one of our employees lives outside of Barcelona near Girona, and there's some great riding there. We've done a launch camp in Santa Coloma de Farners, which is awesome. It's one of the best. Like if you want to do a light duty trail bike, it is like the best place. Just jumpy and fun.
Yeah.
Climbs that are awesome. Castles everywhere, right? What's cool about riding in Girona or also in Lisbon area or in basically anywhere in Portugal, you could have a lot of rides that just end at the beach,
Yeah.
and that's
Always a plus.
pretty awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Those are good. You should leave those on your list. Those are great. Yeah.
All right. If you could go back in time and you were starting your career life again as a young adult and you couldn't get into the bike industry, where would you go? What job would you get? What would you do?
Yeah, well, honestly, I'd go just do something that made a lot of money.
too.
I kind of chose the passion piece this time, you know, like I don't know. We're talking, you know, now my career, I don't know, 18 plus years ago or whenever it was that I made the decision to work in the bike industry, there were other options. So I studied economics in college. I graduated kind of in the Great Recession area. And so I thought I'd be going into financial planning, and that just didn't happen. I had some other opportunities, but really was so excited to work in something I was passionate about that I took half the money early on in my career to work in bikes. And so I would go do something corporate and that just paid well and like had an actual 40-hour work week, right? Because you know this, that's not a bike industry thing, you know? And then I just use that extra time to recreate with my family and kids. So I just go I'd go financial planning. I'd go sell, you know, drugs as a pharmaceutical rep. And then I'd still ride bikes. I would just, I'd actually be able to afford them.
There you go.
Yeah. I wish it was like something cooler, but I mean,
No.
I kind of feel like I've chosen the I want to work in my passion. So if I went back in time and I know what I know now, I'd be like, okay, well this time let's see how just like working a job goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That said, do you regret your decision?
No, not at all. You know, I kind of tell people this, you know, no matter how hard it gets, because it's still a job and it's still going to get hard. You know, we have to make difficult decisions and we're going to make mistakes. We're going to have to deal with everything from HR issues to production issues. Like we have to do that. And so it's still work. That's why they call it a job.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like we're selling something that I believe we make a better product, you know? And I mean, that's pretty awesome. And it's not just a better product, but it's in what I care about and what I do and what
It's a fun product.
Exactly. Like we get to sell fun and an experience, you know, like even talking about you know, where's my favorite riding place? It's about the experience, you know? And so, no, I wouldn't go back and change it. But if I had to go back and choose, it would be all for the money at that point. Yeah, totally different.
Yep. I hear you, man. Yeah. It certainly is an interesting struggle when you're like, man, I'm working so much. I'm so stressed, also not making so much money, but yet it's like, but we're doing something we love. We get to go cool places and ride bikes.
Right.
And that's the choice we made, and it ain't all that bad.
We're
really.
experience rich.
Yeah.
And like that's pretty cool.
It is.
I mean, it's pretty awesome. And I mean, we get to be fit and ride our bikes and, have those experiences. Like I wouldn't change it. But it is work still. And I think sometimes people forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had advice to give, let's say you bumped into some 14, 15-year-old kid at the trailhead who found out you worked for a bike company, and he's like, oh, I would love to work in the bike industry. You're like, what advice could you give me? What would that be?
If he actually wants to work in the bike industry, there's an old article. I'm not sure where it's at now, but it was something to the effect of why you don't really want to work in the bike industry.
We're circling back to that.
Yeah, no, it was really funny. It was it was not funny because it was factual, and I think that it was I think it was originally on Red Kite Prayer or something, but now it's I think you find it on LinkedIn. And it was like, the industry is not just a closed door industry. That door's locked, and you're going to work more hours than you think you're going to work, and you're going to make less than you think you're going to make, and all of that's true. But then kind of this in summary of the article at the end, it says essentially, but if you still love bikes and you're still passionate about it, like go get in the industry, And so I think that's the thing. Like I think that anyone who wants to work in the bicycle industry and that's your passion, they should go do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're not going to regret it, but I want people to know what they're getting into. And that is, it's hard work and it's a job. And so there's good days where you come in and we get a ride with you guys and just talk about this new killer bike. And there's other days where you're like, oh crap, this is delayed. This is caught in customs. There's a new, regulation on this battery. There's so many different things, and there's a new problem to solve every day. So but go do it. I mean, you're gonna have to work in something. You might as well work in something you love.
That's what they say.
They also say you'll never work a day in your life, but that's not true. You'll work.
Oh yeah.
You'll work. You'll work hard.
But at least you enjoy the perks, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Right on, man. So, hypothetical.
Okay.
You are going to be banished somewhere for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You get to choose where it is and what bike you're taking. Where are you going and what bike are you going to take? Well,
so I have a love for Costa Rica, and I would go to Costa Rica, and I love it down there. I speak Spanish. I go there often, and I would bring the bike you just rode. I think it is the best bike we've ever made.
Okay.
And I would want an e-bike. And if I'm gonna if you have an e-bike, who cares if you're overbiked, right? So Shuttle LT. I mean,
that's it.
That bike, I could take it anywhere. You run the range extender. It can do anything I want it to do. It's incredibly capable. It goes uphill faster than I can ever go uphill by myself. And you've ridden there. There is some chunk there when you want it, and there are a lot of steep climbs, and there's some great flow. So that bike would allow me to go and do that. Then when I finish, I'll go for a surf. So I don't just have to worry about the one bike I brought.
There you go.
Yeah,
that ain't a bad option. I like that. That's pretty good.
Warm weather, sunshine, pura vida. It's all the good stuff.
Solid. Right on. Well, I hope we get down to Costa Rica soon.
Yeah.
Thanks for sitting down.
You're invited. You know that.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Stay tuned for more. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.